The story kicks off in 1938, showing a big ship called the Queen Mary out at sea. Inside, things are grim. Dead bodies litter the ship, drenched in blood, victims of a brutal attack. A guard, looking for a woman, encounters her, but she's so disfigured from her injuries that he's terrified, and she collapses, dying from her wounds, an axe wound to her belly. It's revealed that the woman's husband, David, is responsible for the massacre. He's caught and locked up, but his daughter sets him free. Fueled by rage, David goes on to kill more people. The Queen Mary becomes known as haunted, with travelers claiming to see the ghosts of the dead, tarnishing its reputation. Years pass, and the Queen Mary is shut down, becoming a tourist attraction. Now a girl named Anne comes to see the ship along with her son, because she wants to give Queen Mary its previous status while mending its reputation. Anne, along with her husband and son, visits with a mission to restore the ship's reputation. They love their son dearly, and while Anne has a meeting with the ship's captain, her husband takes their son exploring. But the boy wanders off, calling for his dad as they move deeper into the ship. There's this guy all alone, when out of nowhere, the elevator in front of him opens up by itself. Inside, he spots a card on the floor. Turns out, it's one of those fortune cards, the ones that supposedly tell you what's coming down the road. As he's about to grab it, the doors slam shut. Next thing you know, he's down in the basement and spots the ghost of David's daughter, the one who freed her dad before he went on his killing spree. But she's vanished by the time he looks back. Undeterred, he keeps exploring, snapping photos left and right. He stumbles upon a pool, totally clueless that someone, or something, is creeping up on him. Just as he realizes he's being followed, he clicks a pic. Right before whatever it is can pounce, David's daughter's ghost gives him a shove. Lucky for him, the camera hanging around his neck stops him from taking a dive into the pool. But the shadowy figure isn't done yet. Before it can strike again, David's daughter pulls him into the water, camera and all. Meanwhile, the ship's captain spots a little boat moving on its own while he's within. It freaks him out, making him think there's something fishy going on downstairs. So, he heads down and ends up saving Anne's son from drowning in the pool. But the poor kid's pretty shaken up after the whole ordeal. 99% of you enjoy watching our videos, but do not subscribe. We need your support to make more amazing videos like this. That's why. Please subscribe to this channel and show us your love. The ship's captain gives Anne the green light for her project, saying she and her husband can work on the ship every weekend. Once they're done, the ship will be back on top. Flashback to 1938. We meet David, his wife, and daughter aboard the Queen Mary. David, a former army officer with a scarred face from war, wears a mask. They aim for the first class, but are turned away. Learning that the rightful passengers didn't show, David takes their spot. They're having a blast until David's wife starts reading fortunes from cards. The original first-classers return, causing a scene. David refuses to budge, but when his mask falls off, revealing his disfigured face, folks freak out. Feeling humiliated, he leaves with his wife. David, upset, heads to the basement pool. Upstairs, the captain orders the ship to speed up, causing an engine to blow and a room to collapse. When David returns to his room, his wife frets over their missing daughter. But David's acting weird, holding an axe with blood on it, and his wife's suspicious. She creeps forward with a knife, but before she can strike, David bursts in wielding an axe, hitting his wife and causing her to stagger and crash into the wall, badly hurt. The commotion draws others to the scene, but David, out of his mind, attacks them all with the axe, leaving a trail of injuries and death. The ship's captain, alone until now, learns of David's rampage from a crewmate. But the captain's focus is elsewhere. The ship's engine has failed, and water is flooding in. He explains to his companion that the company invested everything in the ship, and now, with it failing, they're desperate to keep it afloat. They turn to black magic, sealing a dangerous man's spirit in a hidden room. With the room breached, the spirit is loose, and they must stop it before it wreaks havoc on the ship. The captain realizes that the freed spirit has taken up residence inside David. It's itching to leave the ship, using David's body as a ticket to freedom. But the captain's not having it. Letting that soul out would spell disaster, sinking the ship that's been sailing smoothly all these years thanks to that very spirit. David manages to slip away from the ship, aiming for a small boat to make his escape. But the captain shows up with a gun, ready to stop him at any cost. Despite his friend's pleas, the captain shoots at David, inadvertently keeping the soul trapped and getting the ship running again. The lights flicker on, and while the captain's relieved, he's also torn up over losing his friends. Guilt-ridden, he locks himself away, ending his own life as punishment. Fast forward to the present, and her husband are back on the ship for the weekend. But the captain drops a bombshell: no work for them since they didn't bring their son along. Desperate, they explain their son's absence, and the captain relents. In their room, Anne unwraps a bandage on her hand, revealing a swollen wound, a souvenir from when her son came back from their last visit looking different. She recalls finding him hanging outside in the rain, a chilling reminder that something's not right. Her son refuses to budge, adamant about not going back on that ship. He recalls the terrifying souls that haunted him last time, refusing to face them again, and tries to coax him inside, inching towards the window. But as she reaches out, the window slams shut, trapping her hand and causing an injury. She cries out in pain, fear flooding back. Later that night, Anne's plagued by eerie voices as she sleeps. Suddenly, a ghastly hand bursts from her phone screen, shattering it. She wakes to the haunting sounds, only to find the hand strangling her. Panicked, she stabs at it with a pen, but it vanishes, leaving her injured hand worse off. Terrified, she recoils and finds herself surrounded by piles of corpses. Crying out for help, her husband rushes in, shocked by Anne's distressing state. He leads her to the ship's counter and tends to her wounded hand, and reveals that when their son seemed possessed at the window, it wasn't him, it was the spirit of David's daughter. When she saved their son from drowning, her spirit passed into him, leaving their son's soul behind on the ship. Their mission on the ship is to find their son's lost soul. The captain, who's been watching them closely, tails them with his gun as they head towards the basement by the pool. There, they discover their son's camera, which captured the shadowy figure. They retrieve the camera reel, hoping it holds vital clues. Meanwhile, Anne's husband explores further and stumbles upon a hidden chamber where the man's body used for black magic was buried. Realizing a murder took place there, they grow uneasy. Standing by the pool, Anne spots blood in the water, sending her into a panic. Suddenly, they see their son's soul and give chase. But before they can reach him, the captain intervenes, ordering them to halt. The ship's captain is in the know about everything, the ship's secrets and the fact that David's daughter's soul resides within their son. He orchestrated their visit, hoping to extract the soul from their son and confine it once more. Despite the captain's insistence, they refuse to bring their son. However, the captain offers a deal: bring the son, and he'll extract the soul, freeing their son's trapped spirit. Anne's husband declines. Later, Anne's husband threatens to expose the ship's truth to the world using their son's camera footage. Enraged, the captain opens fire, prompting Anne's husband to flee. Meanwhile, Anne searches for her son's soul, only to come face to face with David, his wife, and her son's spirit. Her son pleads for her to stay, but she refuses. It's revealed that for a soul to leave the ship, it needs a body. Similar to how David's body was used by the trapped soul to escape. The next day, Anne and her husband appear content, their demeanor changed. They struck a deal with David and his wife, swap souls, allowing David and his wife to leave the ship using their bodies. As Anne and her husband's souls remain on the ship along with their sons, David and his wife, discard the camera reel before leaving. However, they are immediately arrested by the police, accused of murdering their own son, and realize the truth when she saw the possessed soul in her son's body. But instead of saving him, she let him fall to his death, witnessed by a neighbor who called the police. With sinister smiles, they're content that their secret about the ship remains hidden. Unaware of the truth, people continue to visit and enjoy the ship. Little do they know, the souls of Anne, her husband, and their son linger on the ship, trapped until they find bodies to inhabit. And so, the story comes to a close.